define the colors that are represented in your document. You can change the color mode of a document, but it's always best to switch color modes at the beginning if you need to do that. Illustrator offers two color modes, RGB and CMYK. RGB stands for red, green, and blue. CMYK stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. The color mode that you select determines the number of colors used to create the colors within your document, and it also influences the file size of an image. RGB has 3 colors. CMYK has 4, which is common for printing. If you've ever heard of 4-color printing, they're referring to CMYK. Not only will the color mode influence the colors you see on your screen, it also influences the color output when printed. That said, when you select a color mode, know the file format of the document and where it will be used. If you're sending documents to be printed, it's best to work in CMYK. To change the color mode for a document, go to File, Document Color Mode, and select either CMYK or RGB. CMYK is the default color mode for Illustrator. Fill color is the solid color that appears inside of an object. For example, the fill color of the oval here is a shade of red. Applying fill is easy. Go to the toolbox and double-click on the fill color. When you double-click on it, the color picker window appears. Use the slider in the middle of the window to select a basic color. Let's move ours from red up to blue. You can now click on the white circle in the color picker and adjust the tint or shade of blue. Click OK when you're finished. Now if you create a shape, it will automatically fill with the color you've chosen. You can also click on a shape to select it, then click the Fill button. You can also change the fill color by going to the Control panel in Illustrator located below the menu bar. Click on the fill box and select a color. Stroke is different from fill. Fill refers to the color inside of an object's path. If we look at the oval here, we can see we've selected it to see its path, and the fill color is red. We can also see that in our fill box. The stroke color is the color of the path, or the outline of the object. It's shown in the toolbox too. It's the box that sits behind and below the fill color. You can hover your mouse over the stroke box and it will say stroke. You can double-click the stroke box and change the stroke color. You can also go to the Control panel to see and change the stroke color. We've changed our stroke color, but you can't really see it because the path is so thin. Let's go to the Control panel and change the thickness. Right now our stroke is 1 point. Let's change it to 10 point. Now we can see the stroke better. We can also change the type of stroke. Let's look at the Control panel again. The variable width of the stroke can be changed. We can also change the brush stroke. You can store colors that you use frequently in Illustrator so you don't have to constantly look for them or match them to a previous instance. Using the Color panel, you can create different colors and save them. You can use sliders, spectrum color selectors, a grayscale ramp, and you can even create a color ramp for current fill and stroke colors. Click on the Color panel on the right side of your screen. As you can see, we have CMYK sliders since we're working in the CMYK color mode. Click the Options button. Now you can select from several sliders. Grayscale creates a slider that goes from white, or 0, to black, or 100. The ramp at the bottom of your color panel will turn to a grayscale ramp. RGB creates 3 slider panels for the RGB colors. HSB adds 3 additional sliders for hue, saturation, and brightness. WebSafe RGB creates 3 sliders for RGB color, but the color spectrum is restricted because there are only 216 WebSafe colors. To change a color using the Color panel, click a color box, use a slider, enter specific values, or click a color in the spectrum. The box with the red diagonal line means no color. To use the Adobe Color Picker, double-click a color box. You'll then see the Adobe Color Picker. Then select a color. You can use the sliders in the center to pick a color range, then pick a color in the Select Color box. Click OK. Swatches are defined as collections of samples. In Illustrator, they are collections of colors. Illustrator has several types of color swatches. In printing, process is four-color printing, which is CMYK. Global represents all the instances of a color in an image. Using a global color makes it easier to change that color within your design. All you do is update the global color, then it updates in your image. In printing, this includes colors that are matched to colors used in printing, like for a logo that has to be exactly the right shade of blue. Spot, when combined with process, can turn into 5 or even 6 color printing. The process and global color swatches are related to the document color mode. If you want to change a document from CMYK to RGB, then the process and global color types are converted for you. However, if you change it back again, it's another conversion and not back to the original color because you're converting and getting the closest match to the one being used. Using Pantone colors can keep this from happening. Spot color swatches, on the other hand, keep the definition and color modes that they're created in, such as CMYK, RGB, LAB, HSB, WebSafe RGB, and Grayscale. There are spot color swatches that are created by users, and those that are created by color book manufacturers such as Pantone. We'll talk more about Pantone later in this lesson. There are also gradients and pattern swatches. To load color swatches, go to Window, Swatches. This will open the Swatches panel. To load a color swatch, go to the Swatch Libraries menu by clicking the button at the bottom left-hand side of the panel. To show you how to load swatches, let's go to the Swatch Libraries menu and select the Foods Beverages library. These are the colors associated with that library. Let's say we want to add them to our swatch panel, so let's go to the Swatch panel. Click the folder at the bottom to create a new color group. Name the new color group and click OK. Now simply drag and drop the colors from the Beverages library to your new color group. We can also just use the colors in our Swatches panel or any of the libraries to create filler strokes for our objects. Click on any color in the Swatch panel. It now becomes your fill color. Click the arrows to the right of the fill and stroke boxes, and the color you've selected in your swatch panel or library now becomes the stroke color. Note, you can also look at the different kinds of swatches, like gradient and pattern, by clicking the Show Swatch Kinds menu at the bottom of the Swatches panel. Spend some time playing around with swatches to learn the different colors, gradients, and patterns you can use. The Eyedropper tool allows you to copy the color from an object or stroke and use the color for another object or stroke. The snapshot is one that we used earlier. The colors in this snapshot aren't ones we created from Illustrator. However, if we want to use one of the colors from the flower, we can easily do that using the Eyedropper tool. You'll find the Eyedropper tool in the toolbox. Click on it, then move the eyedropper over the color in the picture that you want to copy. Then click your left mouse button. The color will now be your fill color. To make it your stroke color, click the switch arrows to put the stroke box on top. You can also click and hold your mouse button down over the fill box and then drag and drop it into the stroke box. You can also create your own custom colors and swatches. Go to the Swatch panel and click the New Swatch button. You'll then see this window. Enter a swatch name in the Swatch Name field. Let's call ours Example. Now choose a color type, Process or Spot. We're going to choose Process. You can check Global if you're going to use this color a lot in your design or image. Remember, this makes it easier if we need to change it later. Now select your color mode. Ours will be CMYK. Next, use the sliders to create your custom color. Then click OK. Our new swatch now shows in the library. You can see it's highlighted in white. Whether you choose Process, Spot, or Global is up to you. It's easy to identify the color type in the swatch panel. Global Process color has a white corner, Spot color has a white corner with a dot, and Process color is just a plain square. Note, RGB and CMYK are color modes. Process, spot, and global are color types. It's important to know this distinction. When working within a document, it's easier to keep track of the colors that you use if you create a color group. It also makes it easier to convert color modes. You can create a new color group by clicking on the Folder button on the Swatches panel. A new folder will appear in your swatches. Drag and drop color swatches into the new folder. They will appear to the left. This way you don't use the wrong shade of yellow in your document as you try to figure out which swatch you use last. Pantone is a color book manufacturer. The big benefit of using Pantone colors in your designs in Illustrator is you are ensuring that your colors you see on your screen will be the colors that are printed on paper. Let's make this easier to understand. RGB is 3 colors. Most digital images on your computer are in RGB, or 3 color. Printing uses CMYK, or 4 color. Let's say you create a poster in RGB. Your colors look like this on your screen. But when you convert to CMYK for printing, they look like this when printed. However, when you use Pantone colors, you preserve the color you see on the screen when it goes to print. To edit the colors in your color group to Pantone colors, select your color groups folder in the Swatches panel. Click the Limit the Color Group button. It's below the big circle of colors and to the right of the HSB sliders. A drop-down menu will appear. Select Color Books, then the Pantone color that you want. We're going to choose Pantone Solid Coated. Then click OK. A dialog box will appear asking if you want to save changes to the group. Click Yes if you do. You can also turn colors into web-safe alternatives. This is a way of ensuring that the colors you use in your document will look the same on the web. To do this, we're going to follow the same steps we used for Pantone. We're going to select our color group in the Swatches panel, then click the Edit Color Group button. In the Edit Color window, we're going to click the Limit the Color Group button. From the drop-down menu, we're going to choose Web. Click OK when you're finished. Then confirm that you want to save the changes to your color group. A gradient is a blend of 2 or more colors, or tints of the same color. You can use gradient swatches in your documents as well as solid color swatches. To use gradient swatches, click Show Gradient Swatches. In Illustrator, a symbol is an art object that you can use and reuse in a document. For example, let's say we create a flower. It took us a long time to create that flower. If we turn that flower into a symbol, we can easily reuse it without having to create it again. To see the Symbols panel, go to Window, Symbols. You'll see the symbols Illustrator provides to you. You can add symbols by going to the Symbol Library. Click the Library button in the Symbols panel. Then select Symbols from the drop-down list. We're going to select Flowers. Now we can see all the flower symbols we have to choose from. To add a symbol to a document, simply select the symbol in the Symbols panel. Then click to place it on your document. To create a symbol, select the object or artwork that you want to turn into a symbol. Next, click the New Symbol button in the Symbols panel. Type a name for the symbol and select a type, either movie clip or graphic. Specify a registration place on the grid, or where you want the symbol's anchor point. Select Enable Guides for 9-slice scaling if you want to utilize this in Flash. If you want to apply a pixel align property to the symbol, check that box. This means that if you move the symbol, it will be realigned to a pixel grid at its new coordinates. Click OK when you're finished. As you can see, we've turned our yellow circle into a symbol.